I'm so excited to have you all here, so excited to get started, so excited for you to begin the endeavor of connecting with a mentor and learning about what you want to do professionally and then getting your foot in the door with professional opportunities. This workshop is, and this program in general, is going to help you get to where you want to be as a young professional into your career. So during this workshop, we're going to cover how to achieve success in this program, how to expand your network and begin having conversations with people that you want to surround yourself with, and how you can begin working towards a goal with your mentor. This specific workshop's all about how do I get my foot in the door with opportunities. This could be an opportunity for a job or an internship. It could be an opportunity to get mentored by somebody, to be an apprentice. It could be an opportunity just to learn from somebody else, to start setting up informational interviews and just building your network. Either way, this is about getting your foot in the door, because networking is not a transaction. It's not about, hey, I'm reaching out to you so that you can get me this. Like, don't get me wrong. Your end goal could be to ultimately land an internship, and that absolutely can happen, but that is not how it goes about. That's not how you go about doing it. You have to build a relationship. You have to build trust with somebody. You have to build a rapport with somebody. And you know what? It might come about. They might say, hey, my company's actually looking to hire somebody, or I know this person that you should connect with, and they make an introduction, and that leads to that next opportunity. You never know how this is going to work out, but the key is that you're not expecting it from the relationship. You're coming in grateful for whatever opportunity that can come about from this relationship with your mentor, and you make the most out of it. But I just want to say that our goal is about how do we get your foot in the door? How can we help you effectively make those relationships happen and get the ball rolling for you? So to get credit for attendance during this workshop, I'll be asking you 3 questions throughout the workshop for you to answer, and post your answers to these questions in the comments sections within 24 hours of this video going live. So if you're watching the Sunday night episode of this workshop, I'll expect you to have your comments made, your answers to the questions that we post by 8 p.m. on Monday. If you're watching the Monday night version, I'll expect your answers to be posted by 8 p.m. on Tuesday. And if you're watching the Tuesday version of this workshop, I'm expecting your answers to be posted by Wednesday at 8 p.m. After that, you will not get credit. Now, I'm not looking for a comment like, hey, my name is John Doe, I'm just checking in. That won't get you credit. I'm going to ask you specific questions during the workshop that I'm going to point out and say, hey, post your answer to this question below in the comment section. That's how I know that you will be watching, paying attention, and are engaged in the workshop. So I want to set proper expectations. This program will not guarantee you an internship. It will not guarantee you a job, getting promoted faster than your peers. Having that mindset will not lead to proper results. This is not a program that hands things on a silver platter. These are for students. This program is for students that want to take their career path and their career into the next level, to their college experience to the next level, because that's absolutely what this program can do for you. If you think like, hey, I'm going to sit back, do the bare bones minimum, not really like apply myself, you know, you're going to get the outcome that you put into it. But if you really apply yourself, you absolutely can get the outcomes that you want. I mean, I like to think about it as the law of attraction. If you come in expecting negativity, you will get negativity. If you're open to the positive, you will achieve positive outcomes. You will attract positivity to what you want to achieve. So I really want to encourage you to come in with an open mind and a positive outlook for what you can achieve, and the willingness to work hard towards getting there. Students who have gone through this program have landed jobs at places like Google and other Silicon Valley companies, Wall Street investment banks, prestigious PR and marketing firms, and major engineering firms. Absolutely, yes, that has happened many times for many students. But did those outcomes get handed to them on a silver platter? Absolutely not. It's all about what you put into this program and the outcomes that you can achieve. They absolutely are there. They are absolutely possible. You have no idea how this can come about and help you out in terms of your mentor. Treat this program as fuel to help you get to where you want to be. If you're already burning and going strong, this program can really help you accelerate. Imagine just like getting dumped a bunch of gasoline on your big fire that you're already building. If you're burning barely at an ember, let this program be a sliding point, a starting point for you to launch off. But if you think and you come in with the mentality that, hey, I'm kind of doing a couple things, but I'm kind of following the status quo of like, I just go to the annual career fairs and I apply on the online website and that's pretty much it. If you're coming in with that mentality and that you're not going to try to or be willing to open up and apply and do other things to help you get your foot in the door, this program you may struggle with, because we're going to teach you a lot of things and a lot of ways that you can go about getting your foot in the door and getting opportunities for yourself that are not the normal way. That's why this program is for the students that are really interested in taking their life, their career to the next level, because these are the tips that you are not taught in school, and the experts that we bring in, the guests that we bring in to these workshops have content, insight, and wisdom that they've utilized and explained it to within their books, within articles, within other pieces of content they've created that they've built an expertise on. And so the point all I'm making is that this program, if you're interested in taking your life, your career, your college experience to the next level, you are in the right place. So I'm really excited to get started. Now, a couple of keynotes about mentorship. Now, when it comes to your mentor and who you were matched with, one thing that we leverage extensively is this research called work orientation, which is how you view your work. So some people view their work as a job, some people view their work as a career, some people view their work as a calling. Imagine a triangle and imagine it being a spectrum that can change throughout your life. So after you take your assessment and after you get matched with your mentor and you log into your dashboard, you can actually see your work orientation and your paired mentor's work orientation, which is really cool. Because what we've learned is when work orientation is aligned for a mentoring relationship, the likelihood that that relationship lasts for the full 6 months is considered both productive and quality by both participants increases by 400%. It's crazy how powerful work orientation is when it comes to mentor matching. If we were just to match you based on your career interest or their status within their company or their area of expertise, we know that those are only transactional metrics, and the likelihood that that relationship will last for the full 6 months and be considered both productive and quality is low, because then there's an expectation that someone's going to give you something or that you're going to give them something, and that's ultimately not how successful mentorship works. Successful mentorship works when both people can, on a human level, invest in each other, and that's how we make the matches happen. The other key thing about mentorship is vulnerability. The willingness to open up about who you are and what you want to accomplish in your story. I know that when you are more vulnerable, you are much more likely to build trust. You cannot build trust unless you've got vulnerability first. And it's up to you or your mentor to be the first person to take that step. So I want to challenge you to be the first person to take that step, to be vulnerable first. And to give you an idea of what vulnerability looks like, I will share with you my story. Now, I'm passionate about mentorship. I'm passionate about mentorship because I needed mentors in my life. From age 15 to age 19, I was a drug dealer. And at the end of my freshman year at Indiana University, I got arrested in an undercover operation by the Indiana University Police Department. And I got 5 felony distribution charges. I was expelled from school, and I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And I mean, that hit me like a brick wall. I mean, up to that point in time in life, I thought success was you go to school, you get good grades, you get a job, and then somewhere along those lines, you find yourself, like as if it were puberty, it would just come to me. But that's not how life works. And I had to learn that the hard way. Because no one who I had known, no one who I had ever known that I ever thought was successful ever was a drug dealer. And so I had to accept either being a total failure or redefine my definition of success. And so I chose the latter. So I ended up enrolling in a program in St. George, Utah, to help me turn my life around. And that's where I really got exposed to the power of mentorship, both on a personal level and a professional level. On a personal level, really having personal mentors, people that are there for you, are so powerful. I don't want to ever discredit that, because I feel like sometimes when we're here, we're thinking about our professional outcomes, we don't realize how valuable mentors can be on our personal level and really what they can do for us. Because if they help you open your mind to what you can accomplish in your career or what you can accomplish as a person and in who you can emulate your life after, they can really show you something that you didn't actually even believe in yourself that you could accomplish. And I think that's so powerful. And that's really what they did for me. But on a professional level, they helped me really come to the grips with the fact that when you Google search my name when I was 19 years old, the first thing you saw was IUPD does drug sweeps for 8. And I'm one of the 8. I mean, there could not have been a bigger red X across my name when applying for any role. I mean, could you imagine that? Literally, any role I would apply for, I would have showed up with a big red flag. That is bad. So about a month after living in Utah, I flew back to Chicago. That's where my family's from, for the weekend to let them know my life's getting on track. On that flight, I'm sitting next to a guy. We start talking. He starts sharing with me about his life. I start sharing with him about my life. We hit it off. I take a keen interest in him. I'm actively listening. I'm sharing. I'm really trying to put myself into his shoes. And I'm really, most importantly, actively listening. I'm taking down notes. I'm following up on the things that he has to say. I'm really digging into his world because he loves to talk about himself. And I'm really playing into that. Well, it turns out he's the director of ground equipment for SkyWest Airlines. And by the time that that plane lands, he offers me an internship on the spot doing financial analysis for SkyWest Airlines. Boom. Like right on the spot. What an amazing experience. I mean, he took me under his wing. He didn't care about my background. He didn't care about what I had gone through or where I was going or the fact that I may even go to prison sometime in the next year. He took me under his wing and gave me a shot. And that was huge. And that's really where the whole idea for Ambition in Motion came from, was how, like the fact that opportunities could come out of the blue, that they didn't come from just applying on a website and people putting your resume in a background check system, and that, you know, maybe you get spit out with this opportunity. I learned that opportunities could come from just putting myself out there, being vulnerable, and taking a keen interest in somebody else and actively listening to them. And so I think that's such an important story to share with you, because it shows, I mean, my vulnerability, but two, it shows that opportunities can come from a wide array of places, and it doesn't matter where you're coming from, it matters where you're going. And if you believe that you can achieve what you want to achieve, you absolutely can achieve it, but you have to put in the work to go and get there, and you have to be willing to be vulnerable with people. Don't hold all your failures, your mistakes close to the chest because you think people will judge you. Put them out into the world, because ultimately people will give you opportunities and they will believe in you if you let them. So that's something that's extremely important and extremely helpful for this workshop. Now that I've shared my story with you, I am excited for you to embark on your mentor relationship. And I hope that me being vulnerable with you, maybe it inspired you to be vulnerable with your mentor. Hopefully it gave you the confidence to be comfortable with your mentor. And at minimum, hopefully it just gave you the confidence to be comfortable with yourself and who you are and where you want to be and where you're going. Now, for this mentor program, there are 3 keys to success in this program. That is honing your strategy, your story, and your state. Now, I said those in reverse order of importance. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit about why each one of these are so important in terms of being successful in this program. In terms of your story, in terms of your state is your physical being, your physiology. Like, how are you physically right now? Are you like in a peak state? Are you ready to go? Are you jumped up, pumped up, ready to jam? Are you coming into this mentor meeting like, man, I'm about to take on the world and I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I'm amped up. Or are you hunched over? Are you in a bad body language, bad posture, in a bad mood? Something bad happened during the day. You're tired, exhausted, stressed out, whatever. If you're coming in with a negative state, I can promise you're going to have a bad relationship. Your first impression is everything. Your first impression is everything. If you come in a negative attitude because you've had a bad day, I can promise you the relationship is not going to get off to where you want it to be. But if you come in with high energy, you come in like, hey, I'm pumped, I'm excited to learn from you, I'm excited to learn your story, I'm excited to ask you questions, I'm excited to share knowledge with you and have you ask me questions, I'm excited for this relationship to begin. If you come in with that mentality, you will have a great and positive first impression. Now, there's a couple ways that you can go about doing this. One way, and my favorite way to go about getting yourself into a peak state physiologically, is to get up, shake it loose, and yell at the top of your lungs. I know it sounds crazy to do something like this, but I want you to do it right now while you're watching this video. I don't care if you're in your dorm room. I don't care if you're in your house. I don't care where you're at. I want you to stand up, and I want you to shake it loose. I want you to shimmy. I want you to let it go. I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. Just go, yeah! Just let it loose. Let it out. Let it go. Because here's the thing, when you do this, you're releasing endorphins in your brain that make you feel excited, that make you feel energized, that make you feel good, that make you feel confident, that make you feel like I am here and ready to take on the world. And when you do this, you get yourself into a state ready to be in a good mood, to leave a good impression. So I don't care what's going on with your world. If you get yourself into a state physiologically conducive to being successful, get your body language on point, you are going to be successful. Promises on that. The next key is your story. So what is the story that you tell yourself? If you tell yourself a story like, oh man, I'm an introvert, so I couldn't possibly be good at networking, or I couldn't possibly be good at socializing or being around other people. Or if you tell yourself, I'm an extrovert, I'm crazy around people, I can't even handle it right now, I'm nuts. I can't even contain myself when I'm around people. I'm just like a blabbermouth. I have word vomit. I just let things fly like crazy. If you tell yourself these stories for why you will or won't be successful, that will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So back to what I was talking about when I said the law of attraction. If you believe that you can be good at something, you will be good at something. I promise you that. But the key is you have to believe it. And the second thing is you have to practice it, because networking is a skill, like shooting a basketball or knitting a quilt. The more you practice, the better you get. So if you think, oh man, I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert, which makes me bad at networking, you're not going to practice networking, which is going to reinforce you being bad at networking. But if you work at it, if you practice, if you use this mentor program to meet with your mentor, someone who's got like of no consequence to you, like if you, God forbid, mess up this relationship with your mentor, what is the worst that happens? This was a total stranger that you've never met before this moment. Now all of a sudden you're building this relationship. Why not give it a shot? Because here's the thing. If it ends up working out great, it gives you the confidence to start reaching out to more people and building a better rapport with more people and building your network. And then all of a sudden you can become better at networking. You can be better at building relationships with other people. And you can be better at learning opportunities when they arise and getting your foot in the door. So the point I'm making here is, what is the story you tell yourself? What is the thing that you've got in your mind for why you will or will not be successful? And the key here is that if you do have something positive in your mind, I promise you, you are going to be much more likely to manifest that outcome for yourself. And the last key is the strategy. So what are the strategies that you are going to leverage to help you getting your foot in the door for an opportunity? Now, here's something that I like to do. I like to implement new routines every single month, because what it does is it helps me get into into powerful habits. Now, some of them stick, some of them don't stick. Some of them take, a while to stick. Some of them take practice, and that's okay. But the key is that you have to start. And so one thing that I would love for you to start doing in terms of a strategy to help you build a strong routine that will help you start getting your foot in the door is the one, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile account, get a LinkedIn profile account. LinkedIn is a powerful tool. It's so powerful. But then once you've gotten a LinkedIn profile account, I want you to connect with 10 new people in your field, not just 10 new friends or whatever. If you're just starting your LinkedIn account, friend request everybody. Get as many as you can. In fact, you should really try to get above 500 plus LinkedIn connections, because once you're there, you are much more in the LinkedIn algorithm likely to get recommended by other people in terms of connecting with them. But more importantly, I want you to connect with 10 new people in your field of interest. So if you want to get into banking, connect with 10 bankers. If you want to get into marketing, connect with 10 marketers. If you want to get into engineering, connect with 10 engineers. Connect with 10 new people every single week. And it's a really easy thing to do. Send them a personalized message. Say, hey, Jane Doe, I'm a student studying XYZ category. I'm really interested in your work, and I'm interested in potentially pursuing a career in this path. I would love to connect and maybe learn a little bit more about your work, your name. It's the simplest message. And in fact, if you go on the tips and templates tab on the AIM dashboard, you can actually see a copy and pastable link that you can literally copy and paste to help you send this message out to other professionals on LinkedIn. But if you can get into the habit of sending 10 new people a connection request every single week, I promise you are going to start meeting with some of these people, and this could open up doors that maybe weren't even there or you didn't even realize were possible. I strongly encourage that. 70% of all job offers go to somebody who knows somebody at that company, not from just applying blindly on a college career website. I promise you that. 70% of jobs go to someone who knows someone at that company. So if you can build relationships with somebody at that company, your resume will go to the top because you were a referral, not a random stranger who applied. Build your network. So one thing that I love to do, and by the way, we're about to get started into our guest speaker, but one thing that I love to do before, to really reinforce what we're talking about, one thing that we've learned is teaching something to somebody else. So think about something that you've learned within these first few minutes of this workshop so far, or something that you will learn through our guest speaker in this workshop. I want you to think about that, and I want you to teach it to somebody else, something that you learned. And the reason why this is so powerful is because learning something in a workshop is amazing. I mean, sure, I'm on here, I'm on this video, and that's great. That's all. That's amazing. That's fine and dandy. But if you go back to bed, or if you're like, oh, that was cool, I kind of took a note, whatever, like that might stick, but the likelihood that it actually sticks increases exponentially when you teach it to somebody else. So find a friend, find a stranger, find somebody, and teach them something that you learned this evening. And I promise you, it will reinforce substantially more in your brain. You are much more likely to adopt the habits that you are learning. You're much more likely to apply the skills that you are gaining. So that is the key thing that I really want to stress with you from this workshop. So I'm really excited. to jump into our guest speakers. We've got a great one for you this evening. I'm excited to learn. I'm excited for you to learn from our guest. Welcome to our workshop today. I'm so excited to dive in. Our topic is how to get our foot in the door for professional opportunities. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm a student. How do I get my foot in the door for an internship? How do I get my foot in the door for a job? Like maybe I'm going to career fairs. Maybe I'm putting my resume on job postings. Maybe I'm looking on Indeed or other different places to figure out what is the right position for me, or what is the place I want to go, or do I really want to go into a place that's a direct linear transition from my college path to my career path? You're probably figuring all that out right now. Fortunately, we've got a great guest with us here today to talk about how to get your foot in the door. We've got Shonna Andersen. Shonna, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
So, Shonna, if you could maybe just tell us a little bit of what you do right now and then how you got into your career today.
You bet. So right now I lead HR for a fairly small, what they call a SaaS organization, that stands for Software as a Service. And so primarily what we do is provide technology for the post-acute space. And I lead HR for all of that. So including anywhere from hiring, developing, retaining cultural types of things, all the way to exit, whether that's retirement or somebody moves on to a different job. So anywhere in between, that's what I handle.
So how did you get into this? Like, what did you study in college? How did you get into HR? Like, did you study HR in college? Was that a thing?
It was not a thing. I'm not going to date myself, but it was not a thing. In college, my degree was in communications, and I can remember my parents saying to me, "What are you going to do with that degree?" And quite honestly, I thought, I have no idea. I'm just going to get a degree. So when I got out of school, I took a couple of like temporary jobs. I tried to sell, this is dating myself, phone books. So I did that for a little bit, was really bad at it.
Like
And
door
then
to door phone book sales?
yeah, knock on the door and sell like some kind of a phone book. You could put an ad in it. So way a long time ago when they had phone books. I don't even know that they do anymore. Maybe they do. But ended up getting a job for a cellular company in their customer service department. I needed a job, just got a job, not making great money, but it was a job. And it had benefits with it. In that job, my first kind of week in the job, I sat and I watched the trainer, and I thought to myself, maybe that's what I want to do, because she got up there and she was great and she interacted with the class and just made it so enjoyable to learn the content. So I eventually moved my way into training, which happened to be under the HR umbrella, and did that for a while. Kind of got bored. You train
Hold on a second,
every day.
real quick on the training topic,
Yeah.
because I'm fascinated. I think like if anybody makes learning anything fun, I think everybody's naturally attracted to that. I feel like everybody who probably saw that training was like, oh my gosh, like that, I want to do that for other people. Was it pretty competitive to get into the training space?
It wasn't. And the main reason that it wasn't was because they had like these rotational assignments, and you could apply for a rotation assignment helping the trainer. So I did that. And then through that, when a permanent role came open, I'm not going to say a natural fit, but I had already had my foot in the door I already knew who the leader of that department was. And so it just made it much easier to get into that department.
So what you're kind of shedding light on, and I want for the students who are watching this to acknowledge, is you put yourself out there voluntarily to take on rotational programs in the direction of
Yeah.
where you wanted it to go. So wasn't this like
Yeah.
magical golden, ramp or red carpet that was rolled out for you to say, "Hey, Shonna, why don't you try out training?" It was,
Yes.
"Hey, I want to take on a rotational program. I want to pursue training. This is something that I'm fascinated with." And you deviated your time in a rotational way, whatever was
Right.
offered to you, what was available to say, "Hey, how can I get more reps? How can I get more opportunities to be around people in training?" So then when the opportunity arose, you were ready to go in a natural fit.
Exactly. And I almost had to take a step sideways, I guess you would say, to do that. And I knew the hours might not be great. It was training customer service, so it could be overnight, it could be on the weekends, but I knew that, like you said, that was a step in the right direction. It could get my foot in the door, or I would do that and decide I hated it. So, you know, there was that potential that didn't pan out, but that definitely could have happened. And I didn't take a permanent assignment, so I wasn't forced into a position then that I didn't like.
How do you weigh the cost benefit of analysis of like determining it's worthwhile to make that sort of horizontal transition? Because I think if I'm a student, I'm thinking to myself, like, I get paid XYZ salary a year to do XYZ work. Now I'm thinking like I really like the work I'm doing is fine, but I would be intrigued with doing work over here, but I don't want to do it unpaid or do it for less pay. Like I don't want to take on like any additional hours. Like, is it worth
Yeah.
it for me to give up maybe some of my evenings or maybe some of my weekends to like learn the work? What would you say the adequate investment of time would be to like really discover if this is or is not a path you want to pursue?
You know, and I think that's up to each individual, but you have to, like you said, there's an ROI in it. And for me, for example, I knew the pay was going to be the same, but the hours were not going to be great. So here I'm giving up some family time, some friend time, and I was young. And so that was a big cost. And I had to look at it as it's a short-term investment for a long-term gain potentially. And I think that's what the students that are going to be watching this have to think as well is what can I do today, even if it isn't necessarily in the direction I want to go, but as I like to say, I can put that information in my backpack and I can just keep piling things in my backpack for the date when I need them and just start pulling them out for whether it's a recruiter or a hiring manager. So as much as you can stuff in that backpack, you might have to invest some time or take a side lateral type of a move, which definitely isn't a bad thing to do that. So
I completely agree with you. I think, gosh, early in your career, be as risky as you possibly can be with your time. Because ultimately, the more you can learn about what career path you want to pursue, and when I say risky with your time, what I mean is like, it's okay to give up your weekends. Like, if it was like, oh, I could spend the weekend playing video games or, going out with friends or doing whatever you do on the weekend, and if I give up that, so then I can learn if this is a career path I might want to pursue, that time investment of learning your career path will always be a better use of your time earlier on in your
yes,
career than later on. Because once you're in your 30s and once you're in your 40s, there are certain life events that may or may not happen to you, family wise or otherwise,
right.
that just like don't allow for you to have the flexibility you have right now. So
Mhm.
go out, try new things, and I'm not saying don't play video games. I'm not saying don't go out and have fun free time wise. You will always be able to go to your concerts or do fun things, but if you have the opportunity to take
Mhm.
on new learning experiences when you're younger, I would be you're much better off learning them now, earlier on in your 20s and early 30s, than trying to be like, oh my gosh, I squandered my first 10 years of my career.
Yep.
Now I'm in my mid 30s and I want to start a family, but I also want to figure out a job that I don't absolutely dread.
Right.
That's a rock and a hard place situation. And I think, Shonna, you're supposed spot on with
Yeah.
that.
I think it really is when you kind of like you said, you get to that point where you start having these big life events that they just they don't prohibit you from doing different things. They just maybe way stronger than you might have a family and now I can't go and do that training job that's overnight just because of my family obligations. So and I would say in addition to that, it's in my mind I'm kind of thinking put a kind of a roadmap, create a visual roadmap of what you think you might want to do, but don't be so tied to that because I had no idea I wanted to do training. Honestly, I thought I wanted to do communications for a big company and write their press releases and things like that, and just never imagined I would be where I am. Definitely fits my degree and what I learned, but it's not at all what I expected I would do. And I
So
really like it. So
let me take a moment to ask the students a question. Post in the comments section. I'd love to learn more. what can you do right now to expand your sphere of learning? Like you might have a job lined up, you might have an internship lined up, maybe you don't have any of them lined up. If you don't have any of them lined up, what can you do right now to start getting experiences, whether it be voluntarily, whether it be part-time, whether it be as an internship, whether it be as a job? What can you start to do right now, not just to earn money, but to actually learn about a field that you are genuinely interested in pursuing for your career path moving forward? Post in the comment section. I love to learn more. And if you are, by the way, in an internship or a job, what are things that you could add to your plate? What are extracurricular activities? And in a career, you can have extracurricular activities. You could volunteer on the weekends. You could take a part-time job or an internship. You could take other experiences where you know, maybe donate your time or maybe trade your time for not as much money as you might be making with your job, but to learn about a career path that you might be interested in pursuing. What can you do? Post in the comment section. I'd love to learn more. So, Shonna, I'd love to learn, how did you transition from training to HR? What was the next evolution or step for you?
So as I worked in the training department, I sat right next to several people in the HR department, and I could overhear the conversations that they were having. And I also started getting pulled into leadership development training. So not just customer service, but now I was training leaders. And that intrigued me. But the other pieces of the HR that I could hear, you know, as people talked in my department was also intriguing. I can remember thinking, as maybe dorky as it might sound, the law and the legal pieces of HR were very interesting to me. And so I could hear people talking. So again, a kind of lower level HR coordinator position, which is pretty much the lowest you can get in HR, position came open. And I said, you know what, I'd like to try that. I was already in the department, so they gave me the opportunity with the understanding that if it didn't work out, if I didn't like it, I could go back to training. And I got in there and, you know, just really enjoyed it. Ended up through my career, 20 plus odd years, ended up kind of transferring around with my spouse's job, but gave me an opportunity to work for different companies and learn different industries, which was also very beneficial. So I wasn't kind of stuck. I mean stuck in a bad way, but stuck at the same company for the whole time. I think it's just useful to get that kind of wide knowledge as much as you can. So that's how I ended up in HR, and here I am today.
I love that. So playing devil's advocate, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I were the VP of HR for that company that you were at, and all of a sudden you who was in training came to me and said, hey, I'm interested in going to be an HR coordinator and getting into the legal side of things. Part of me would be like, okay, this is exciting. I've got someone who's eager to do this. But then part of me would be like, okay, darn, I've now got another job rec open that's in training because I have someone who's leaving. But she also wants to keep that job potentially open in case she doesn't like the HR coordinator position. Like, how do you feel like your company handled that circumstance? And like from a corporate side, I'm trying to think about it from not just as a young student trying to pursue additional opportunities, but from a corporate perspective, what is the corporate logic from something like that?
And from the logic that was used, I think when I did it, that's probably not the logic that you're going to frequently see. Again, I kind of had an opportunity, and the nice thing was that I trained customer service, but there wasn't a customer service class every single week. So I did that. I continued to train and then dabbled over here and helped in my coordinator type of a role. I helped one of the HR business partners and did some things for her. And just through that, it was like, yep, this is what I want to do. So made the decision, you know, fairly quick. But to your point, I don't know, you know, a lot of organizations don't do that. What I do see many organizations doing is having rotation programs, which it's such a great opportunity to get in and try different things that you may have no idea that you even wanted to do. You know, they tend to be bigger organizations. Some have very excellent programs. GE has an amazing rotation program in like finance, HR, different things. Other companies that might be smaller might have them where you rotate in the business, you rotate into, you know, just different roles to get a feel for what you like. And that's a nice kind of opportunity if you don't have that opportunity to do this assignment over here, but then I want to go back over here. So a rotation's kind of a great way to see different pieces of the organization.
You know, you kind of keep going back to the curiosity element of things, which I just really love, which was you were in a position where, you know what, there were probably other trainers that were like, hey, you know what, I don't do a training every week. I do it maybe every other week. And I just kind of coast on those other weeks. I kind of like, maybe I tweak the training here, I tweak it there, I tinker, but I'm not really working that crazy hard. Do I want to take on the additional hours of helping out from an HR coordinator perspective? If I'm not feeling that eager or not intrigued by that opportunity, I might say no to that. And that's the difference between who ends up getting those opportunities and who doesn't. Because what you're describing is a much lower risk proposal. If I've got someone who's already doing some of the HR coordinator work, she says she loves it, she's doing a really good job at it, it's really easy for me to put her in that role. It's like, well, you know, Shonna's already doing the work. She's doing a good job at it. She seems to like it. We got an open job rec. All right, let's put Shonna in the position. It's a whole lot easier for me as the VP of HR to justify that than to cold turkey say, swoop, going from trainer to coordinator.
Exactly. And the nice thing about that training piece, you know, at least at the company I was at, is they had that kind of training rotation that I mentioned, like in customer service, they had customer service reps rotating into this training. So they also had people kind of rotating in and testing it out. So it was somewhat of a natural feeder program to potentially other places. You know, obviously some stayed within the training department. For me, I wanted to expand out.
So we've talked a lot about like these internal networking foot in the door opportunities. What if I'm not in a job yet? What are suggestions you have for students that are maybe looking for that first job, looking for that first internship, or maybe just kind of sussing out, like, is this the right path for me? What suggestions do you have for getting your foot in the door and getting that conversation started?
You know, and it's such a great question. You know, I was sharing with you, Garrett, before the call that I myself have a 23-year-old who just graduated from college, and we've been having a lot of these conversations. And the things that I have shared with her are network. And you may think to yourself, I don't know anybody, but you do. You have your mom and your dad, and you have your aunts and your uncles, and you know, Sally down the street who's your friend's mom. And it's anytime that you're around other people, just having the conversation, hey, you know, tell me what you do. Do you like your job? How'd you get into your job? Are there any internships open at your company? And it's just putting yourself again out there and really networking with the people you know. And what you'll be amazed about is they then often will connect you with other people that you don't know. And so pretty soon your circle just gets wider and wider and wider because of your networking. And while it's not always true, I would say more often than not, it is, and I know you've heard this before, but it's not what you know, it's who you know, to help you get that foot in the door oftentimes. So your hard work is everything, and that will also get you where you need to go. It just might take a little bit longer than if you can network.
You know, what's so great about that is I love that you recommended suggesting reaching out to your family connections and friend connections, because I don't think, as even when I was a college student, I'm guilty of this. I don't think I reached out to a lot of my parents as like family friends and what they did until maybe after college, until I got like genuinely intrigued with what they did. And you may end up discovering a field or an industry that you didn't even realize what existed until after talking to them. So for my case, I like shortly after I graduated and I was just talking to some of my family friends, I realized a ton of them were in the industry of recycled metals. I didn't even think that was an industry, but they like it. Like one of my dad's best friends bought a like a USS, like one of those giant aircraft carriers. He bought an aircraft carrier that needed to be recycled, refurbished, and like torn down. And so he built all these facilities out in like the coast of Texas to take on this aircraft carrier, which the story is wild. He like bought it for $1, but the whole like stipulation with his contract was that he had to tear it apart and then recycle and sell the metal to other people and stuff like that. And he did it. He did really well on it. But the thing is, it's like, who would have even thought that would have even been
Yeah.
a business or an industry or anything you could do? And he's got a whole company. He's got marketing, he's got HR, he's got finance, he's got accounting, he's got everything that goes into a normal business, but for recycled metal. And you're like, wow,
No.
who
Yeah.
knew that was even an industry you could like, there's not a welcome to recycled metal class in college.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't remember that.
No way. No.
No, no. And I think too, I think sometimes students are afraid to kind of come back to their parents and ask for connections or things. It's like, oh, what does mom know? But it's even just asking your mom or dad, hey, can you connect me with some people maybe that you work with? Or if you do have an internship, it's reaching out to other departments and just having cold calls, tell me what you do. Or trying to get introductions to those other departments. So, but it's just network, network, network.
So I love to ask the students a question. Who in your network are you going to ask for insight as to what they do for work? Post in the comment section. Name 3 people that are in your family, friend, professors, whomever's network that you're going to ask what they do for a living professionally. Who's that going to be? Post in the comment section. I'd be very curious to know. Because yeah, I mean, I think one of the most powerful things students have is the power of just saying that I'm a student. Like you're not selling
Yes.
anything. You're not trying to,
Yeah.
sell this person on anything. You're just saying, hey, I'm a college student. I would love to learn what it's like to be in the marketing and communication field, or I'd love to know what it's like to be in the HR space, or I'd love to know what it's like to be an engineer. I love to know what it's like to be a software developer, whatever it is that you do. I love to learn about it. I'm a student. Would you be open to having an informational interview or a conversation with me just to share with me what a day in the life is like? So many people are going to say yes then. And what's the worst that could happen? They don't respond or they say no? Who cares? It's a numbers game. If you send it out to 20 people, I would guarantee you at least 2 are going to say, yes, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Because people love to talk about themselves. People are inherently ego driven. And it fuels our ego when people say, I want to learn about your story, because we love our stories. We're all our own story.
I would almost bet that they have, almost 20 responses that say, oh yeah, happy to talk about it.
Yeah. I'm tempering expectations. Say reach out to 20
Okay,
people.
you're right.
You'll get, I would guarantee you're going to get at least 2 people. More like
definitely
more than 2 people. But like, I want to set expectations at the low bar just so then, you're not like, Garrett, I reached out to 20 people and only 18 people said yes.
That's true.
I
would also say, Garrett, one thing that I have posed to my daughter is reach out to your alumni association, get hooked up with them, because if you can get hooked up with them on LinkedIn, you can kind of find people who are alumni of your company, and alumni love to help students or new graduates. I know I filled a job and I had so many applicants, I needed to know where to start. So I went to people who graduated from the university I did, and that's how I picked a person. So use your alumni, use that college, the name, and that will help as well.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you. When I first brought our executive symposiums from Austin to Dallas and Houston, one of the first thing I did was reach out to Indiana University alumni in those areas. I went to Indiana University, and that was a huge boon. Everyone was like, oh my God, you're a Hoosier? Absolutely. I'm in. I'm coming to your event. Doesn't really even matter like what your event's about, or I'm in a leadership role. I'm into it. And then, they came and they had a great time. And the point I guess I'm making is people love to help fellow alumni of their alma mater. And so if reach out, look up on LinkedIn, you can filter, you can see who went to what schools, send them a message. I'm a big fan of that. I think it works really, really well. And LinkedIn is such a great resource for that.
Agree.
So, Shonna, I'd be curious to know, just so then we can be very clear, why do professionals like helping students?
Yeah, I think for us, it's, well, at least for me, and probably many other people, it's, we know what it's like to be in your shoes and, struggling to get your foot in the door, struggling, to figure out what you want to do with your life. Some people know, myself, I had no idea. I thought I wanted to be a track coach. And then I learned they don't make much money. So I started looking at something else, but we love to help where we can. And again, we've been in your shoes. We know what it's like. And if we can make it a little bit easier, that road, most people are so happy to do that and to lend a hand or to network you. I might not know something, but I'm happy to reach into my network and introduce you to other people. But we know what it's like. It's tough. And, even though you believe you're going to graduate and you're going to have this job immediately, sometimes that doesn't happen. And so if we can help you along the way, then definitely we want to do it.
That's cool. I love it. So last thing I want to talk about is rejection. What's your advice for students who fear rejection?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And it's very real, especially when you are blanket applying for positions. And sometimes the rejection is in the form of you just don't hear anything. So you just don't know, or you think you have this great interview and you hear it didn't work out. And what I would say is, as hard as this is, use that as a learning opportunity. Each time that you go out and you look at companies, when you apply for them, don't just apply for a job, look at the company. So now I've learned about that company. Or if you interview for a role and you don't get it, that was great interview practice. And as much as you can, just try to remind yourself that was just practice. I think I'm also a huge believer in things usually kind of guide and happen kind of the way they're supposed to. And I almost hate to say that to students, but I have found that is true. It's, if you didn't get the job, it probably wasn't the right job for you at this time. So maybe it would be in the future, but it's not right now. There's something else out there that is perfect for you. You just need to go find it. And now you have the opportunity because you were rejected from this. So I had my mom telling me all the time growing up is rejection is protection. And, I always think of it as, okay, it's my protection. I wasn't supposed to do that. I'm supposed to do something else. So pick yourself up, dust yourself off, maybe take a day off, go sit by the beach, do what you need to, then get back at it.
I love it. I like to also do a dissociation exercise where it's almost like when I'm getting rejection, I'm starting to get down on myself. What I'll do is I'll go and pretend like as if I'm consoling a friend who just got rejected a whole bunch. And I'm thinking to myself, what would the advice be if I went to my friend who just received a bunch of rejection? What would be my advice for them? And see if I could try to apply it to myself. So I guess I love to ask the students a question, not thinking about yourself, but thinking about your friend. What advice would you give to a friend who's facing a lot of rejection? Post in the comment section. I'd love to learn about it. And then more or less, once you're done doing that exercise, see if that's some advice you can also apply to your own situation. So Shonna, this has been such a great workshop. I feel like we've covered so much ground in terms of how to get your foot in the door. Are there any final tips or suggestions or tricks or just things students should be thinking about as it comes to getting their foot in the door for that first job or internship?
I think I just go back to don't be so myopic and tunnel vision about what you think that you are supposed to do with your degree or where that you had in your mind. Just open up your eyes and ears and listen to what's out there, because there are so many really neat opportunities that you don't even know about. Again, you'll find those by networking and just listening to other people. And you may end up in a career that you never even imagined that is the perfect fit for you. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just be open to new experiences, be open to moving and trying different things, because you never know where it will take you.
Amazing. Well, Shonna, thanks for being here. Students, thank you all for being here. I look forward to seeing you all in our next workshop.